While you may be gently entering spring this week, I am right back in the trenches of winter. This is a snowfall from about 15 hours during this weekend's atmospheric river, and now we are getting into the rainfall portion. As ready as I am for spring, I'm thankful that I moved in winter and that this winter decided to show me what's possible on this property prior to me establishing beds that may very well end up flooded out and impossible to use. Now I have the opportunity to build beds and healthy soil in a place that will overwinter well, providing me with winter growing space and a jump start to the 2027 growing season. Imagine planting all your fall garlic only to have it all underwater and rotting. So thankful I'll be able to avoid that outcome.
Is that your bear? Percy, do you have your bear? Persephone. You're silly. These are some Jimmy Nardello seedlings, which is a sweet pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and plant these up into individual pots. And then I do want to tell you, none of my soil is what I would normally like for it to be, unfortunately. It's very remote out here and I'm working with what I've got. And what I've learned is that over the summer and fall, I'll need to stock up on soils that I actually prefer to use from out of town. And then I'll have them for next season because the things that they get in town are not really the level that I would want for my own food growing. But this is a potting soil mixed with a compost, and I'll be adding earthworm castings as I put in each seedling as well. So I take this out as a full clump and then I just slowly start breaking this apart, and I'm just as careful as I can be with the roots of each little seedling, and I break them apart just enough that I can put each one in its own pot. So sometimes when they're closer together, they don't get as much soil from their original pot. And then sometimes, they still have quite a bit. But I'm just being careful of the roots and also the leaves because sometimes they get tangled. So then these will each get a little dollop of worm castings right in the hole there that the plant will go in. And then everything will get covered up and then everything will get watered in. These are all tucked into their new little pots. Now, don't be surprised when you go to pot up if they throw a little tantrum and get a little wilty. I have watered these in, which is going to help stabilize their roots. You should always do that with your seedlings. But they still may throw a little bit of a fit for the next couple days until they really start to root into their new surroundings. All right, so now I have 12 individual Jimmy Nardello seedlings in what started off in 2 of these little pots. So it gave me a lot of extra space for germination and getting big enough to have true leaves and getting big enough to be potted up. And then I've got several of these pots left. So I think I'm just gonna see if anybody locally wants some seedlings. Last year, I really had horrible germination rates with my Jimmy Nardellos, and so that's why I planted as many as I did. This is also a different brand of seed, and so that could also be why it's going so well. Not really sure. But this year I've got a great germination rate, so I have plenty. I have this little pot and 3 more of these little pots, each with several little seedlings in them. So I have quite a few extras of the Nardellos this year. Not that you can ever have too many because they're delicious. Along with all my Jimmy Nardellos, I also have 6 paprika peppers planted up. So those, once they start getting their actual, setting their fruit, I'll pick all those, I'll roast them all, and then I'll dehydrate them all. And then I'll grind them into a powder, and that's how you make paprika. And I've made my own before, but not in several years. So I wanted to go ahead and do that again this year. So we'll see how that goes. I also have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 more paprika peppers that are already in individual pots because just not very many of them germinated in each pot. So I've got, I guess, 10 total for the paprika peppers. So doing really well on those. A lot of my other peppers did not germinate. I've got 2 other varieties of peppers that did germinate, but not to the degree that these did. So I'll be looking at potting those up soon as well.
For anyone that's been following along since I moved here, this probably looks very familiar, as we had some atmospheric river activity and it's still raining. So almost all of this snow and also all of this rain happened over roughly a 48-hour period, and we're back to kind of the severe flooding in the back. So now I'm painfully aware that that is going to take quite a while to drain back out as it did before. Plus all this snow still has to melt and it's still raining. So all of the stuff I was hoping to start getting prepped this month is definitely not going to be happening unless there is some miraculous switch in weather between, you know, now and the end of the month. So it's definitely going to be an April project / early May, depending on how the rest of the year goes. So that is a bit disappointing, but I'm hoping that all this snow is at least helping the soil health. If you don't know, snow adds a lot of nutrients to the soil because it's really good at trapping the nutrients, and then when it melts into the ground, those nutrients go into the soil. So hopefully there's a lot of beefing up happening for all the soil, but hoping to get out there and start getting things done literally as soon as possible. As you can see, my backyard is flooded once again. When this happened earlier in the winter, I thought that it could probably dry out by the time I wanted to use this space as a garden. And now I'm pretty concerned that that's not going to be the case. And I'm worried that it's going to be way too waterlogged to be an effective gardening spot. So I'm going to take you on a little tour of the property in a hunting for a new garden spot sort of way. I have a couple of spots in mind, and I'm also going to take you actually into this area so you can see how deep the water is back there. We also have at least 10 more days of snow forecast. This has happened as a result of really heavy rains on top of what was 5 to 7 inches of snow. So this has happened because of rain, but also because of snow melt. And I'm not sure exactly what to expect, but I want to be sure that I have a really good space available to garden when it's time to transplant. So let's go on a little adventure. So this area back here is flooding as well. So this will not be a good spot for gardening. So I headed back this way.
just want to take a look and see how far back the flooding goes. Yeah, okay, so this whole area by the chicken coop, that's the road just past that snow. And so all the way back, this whole area is still flooded. I mean, you can see there's water through all of that. So this area back here has never flooded since I've been here, and is not currently flooded even though everything else is. So this is kind of an area where I could garden. I can rearrange a lot of the fencing and turn this whole space into a garden. It would be a lot of cleanup and a lot of work, but all of it is going to be a lot of work. This is the backside of the space I wanted to garden in, and you can see at the edge of the snow right there, it's flooding. I'll take you back there in a second, but it's also flooding all the way right there, basically right up to the snow. So as much as I wanted to garden in this fenced-in area, I'm not sure that it's going to be realistic without doing some pretty serious drainage, moving around, etc. But let's go take a look in there and kind of on the back side of that back fence to see what we can figure out. So we're on now this side of the house. This is the garden bed where I just put all the kale and spinach and stuff. This side has also never flooded. It doesn't get quite as strong sunshine, but this whole area could be a garden. It goes towards the road that way. And, you know, I mean, obviously there's snow right now, but it's not flooding. I mean, it's damp back here, but you can see it's not spongy like the other side of the property. And then let's head back this way. All of this along the side of the house could be gardened. All these brush could be taken out. So all of this back here could be cleared and used as a garden space. I'm just on the outside of the fenced area, so this could all be used. Looking in here, let's get this. I may have to come at this from the other direction because my lock goes the wrong way. It goes the right way for coming in from the other door, so we'll give that a shot in a minute. But let's take a look around the backside. Percy! So this fence is now completely down. This newest snow really took it the rest of the way out. So it's completely down now from here to the corner. However, I do think though one thing that I could look into doing that I think would work, at least potentially, is to dig a big French drain right behind where this fence line goes, and then perhaps all of that would drain out. It'll be a lot of work because I don't think that I could get a machine back there or anything. I'd have to dig it out by hand, but that is something to consider. That could be a good plan, because this fenced-in area would be the absolute best space to use for gardening. It gets really good sun, and also it's already, besides the part of the fence that I'm standing on right now that needs to be fixed, it has intact fence the rest of the way. Now, I'd want to fix up some of this fencing and do some of it differently long term. But in the meantime, I could probably, for the most part, leave it how it is and fix the part of the fence that's down, and then just make alterations to the rest of the fence over time. So I just circumvented the lock by coming over the part of the fence that's broken. So this still feels pretty solid. It's snowy, but solid. But here, it really starts to flood. And you can see that's about as high as I want to go because these boots have holes. But all this is just a pond. And I do think that fence right there, if I put a French drain on the other side of it, maybe this would be encouraged to all drain out. And that could really help keep this from flooding. And that's something that I would like to work on this year, but I still think this season I'll probably plant things right on the outside of that fence line over there where it's not flooding. Because for now, it's going to be a lot of work to make this manageable in time. So I can work on planting over there and then work on getting this manageable in the meantime so that hopefully I can plant back here next spring. And I can maybe just do, I may just do container gardening this year over there. And do, you know, as much as I can with what I'm working with. As soon as this all gets to a season where it's more dried out and we're not having, you know, huge dumps of snow and atmospheric rivers every 5 minutes, I think it'll be a lot more manageable out here. Something that is going to be happening in the month of April is real rain barrels going in where they need to be. I just have these temporary containers, which, I mean, this is overflowing. I mean, it's too full, but it's all I could manage for now. As soon as it starts drying up, I'm also going to start cleaning out in here, which is disgusting. There's German Shepherd poop everywhere and sawdust and any number of things. So all that's going to get cleaned out sometime in spring. I tried to unlock this lock just now and it's frozen in there. You can basically see the ice coming out the bottom. But I think this fenced in area, what I'll do is work on getting this cleaned up as soon as the snow is gone and just use this fenced in area as my garden for the year. And I mean, depending on what goes on with the flooding in the back, this may be all I can really manage long term too. So I'll see how that goes. This was kind of like a dog pen. So it'll need quite a lot of cleaning up and stuff. You can see there's that dark spot there, and then over there, I don't know if you can really tell, over there, these are spots that have been dug up by the dogs. So I'll need to get all of this sort of leveled out and doing well as far as all that goes. And then from there, I'll be able to work with this soil, get it to a place where it's good for growing. And then probably what I'll do is reuse some of this wood and do just some raised beds in here and then go from there. So I think that's going to be the new plan for the 2026 garden. And like I said, you know, once things are planted and we're kind of in the honeymoon phase of the garden, I'll be working on that space back there to see what I can do as far as drainage and that kind of thing. And worst case scenario, that line of fencing, this back line of fencing can come down and be moved out to incorporate the rest of the area here that doesn't flood. And I can expand the garden that way. You know, if that back there is going to stay flooded and there's no way to change the drainage, then I can just really work on incorporating this stuff into a garden space. yeah, so thanks for going on this little planning trip with me. It was helpful just to get out here and visualize it. I've kind of been avoiding coming out here because it's absolutely freezing and it's been either pouring rain or covered in snow like this. So it was good to just get out and kind of walk around and feel the space, and hopefully I can start to figure out what I'm going to do with my garden this year. My tomatoes are growing really, really well. I'm going to be potting these up next week. There are a couple of things in with the tomatoes that are not tomatoes, but these tomatoes are doing really, really well. So I'll be potting those up soon. A really cool thing about tomatoes is that all these little hairs are actually like basically roots that haven't actually rooted. And so when I go to pot all these up, I'll be going way up the stem. So these won't be so leggy when I pot them up. But look at all those tomatoes.